My name is Sari van Pooijen. I'm the director of Intact Academy. We give accredited programs for coaches and consultants from beginner to executive coach to team coach to supervisor and beyond. Accredited both by SEF, at least team coaching is, and EMCC accredited at the senior practitioner level. The other thing is I am the director of Agile Business Innovation, and we help businesses innovate more quickly than their products to accelerate their time to market. If you're interested, we've got a really cool webinar on that, and also a TV performance. I was on television with that lately, so you can watch all of that online. We were talking about norming issues in groups and the importance of teaching people to negotiate. Of course, there are many ways to negotiate, and we can talk about that at a later time. But more importantly is also to know what not to do while negotiating. And I want to use John Gottman's theories about that. John Gottman was an engineer at MIT, and he started, contrary to what his PhD advisor said, he started to write about human relationships in a technological way. At least he was interested in why people broke up. And so he constructed a way to look at different interactions between people, categorize those interactions based on what his observations in what was the love house, he called it, and then started to predict how long people would stay together. This love house was a house where they'd rigged all sorts of cameras. They'd invite couples into that house and film whatever they were doing for a long weekend. And then based on all those millions of transactions, they'd create categories to see how do these people actually talk to each other? How do they communicate verbally and non-verbally? He got a prediction rate of 86% valid, if people would be together after 2 years or not, just simply based on the analysis of their transactions. So this guy is not a transactional analyst, but in the real sense, he is a transactional analyst. He found in his, at the moment, I think it's 45 years of research all over the world, all sorts of couples in all sorts of phases of relationship. He found 4 types of behaviors which really enhance the prediction of breaking up, which I'm going to talk about in a while. Many years ago, he met his wife, who at the time was and still is a very good couples therapist. And she said, John, now you know why couples separate. Why don't we create a therapy based on your research to help them stay together? And so now we not only know the 4 basic reasons why people split up, but also the 4 main competencies they need to stay together. I use his theories and her theories because within teams, of course, we also have to function within a network of relationships. So knowing why relationships break up is just as important in a couple as it is in a team. This is a very brief depiction of this. So John Gottman calls the 4 main types of behavior why people break up, couples break up. He calls it the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And the antidotes are on the right side. So I'll just quickly go through this. So because it's just as valid in couples as in teams. So what are the 4 main reasons relationships break up? On the left-hand side. The first one is criticism. So if people are constantly criticizing someone else or their partner, it's again 86% valid prediction that you will break up within 2 years. So be mindful of this. Within TA, we call that continuous communication from the negative critical parent. So that's continuously saying you should, why didn't you, why didn't you, why didn't you? And it can be, when it moves from a criticism of what people are doing to a criticism of who people are, then you're really in a red zone. When I work within teams, I sometimes see this. There's always one person, for some reason, that is the scapegoat and carries a lot of the criticism in the group. Sometimes that's the leader, and that's a real red zone. You know, if the leader is continuously criticized and people don't accept their membership responsibility for managing that leader as well, you're in a red zone as a team. The antidote to that is teaching people in teams gentle startups. So it's more than the feedback rules. It's really about saying something about yourself. Brené Brown would call that vulnerability. So it's really talking about the I. And I sometimes teach people like the mental karate to go with that. So it's the observation, what it does to you and your need. So I do this purposefully. I have a belt in karate, by the way, but so people know this somatically. So it's saying, this is what I'm seeing you do. This is the effect on me. What I need you to do, what I would wish for us to do is actually the thing. Let's see. What I see you do is focus a lot on what's missing. What happens to me is I feel unrecognized in what I am doing. What I need you to do is have some balance in your feedback, so I can stay open and work with you. That's an example. Gentle startups. To do gentle startups, you should give the feedback, whatever it is, quite immediately, because if people save up stamps, we say, so this happens continuously, and then you have this little stamp book and you put your little stamps in, and when your little book is full, you hand in the relationship. No, what you should be doing is handing in the stamps as you go along, so that you don't have one big blow up at the end. If you have saved up stamps, it's really hard to do gentle startups. You know, then it's better if you've saved up stamps to go into the forest and start to run with your dog or something, come back and then have this gentle startup conversation with your teammate. What I also see people do is all sorts of, you know, other behavior, but we'll talk about that another time. The second horseman of the apocalypse, the second main reason relationships break in couples and in teams, is contempt. So this is really these are all red flag behaviors. So if you see people doing a lot of this gesture, like this moving away, or people are speaking in meetings and people look away, or they say, you don't know what you're talking about. Really insulting people, abuse goes very far, but you know, it does happen sometimes. But this turning away from, you know, having contempt for someone else. Sometimes it happens between departments, like, I don't know, between production and sales. Like sales is going, those production people, they can never keep up with whatever we're selling. Or the R&D people, the innovative people going towards sales, they don't, you know, they're selling something we haven't even invented yet, but they have no idea what we're talking about. I'm working within a professional organization at the moment. So you've got professionals and then you've got staff. There's a lot of contempt between these two groups. Like the staff is saying, we know what's best for the organization. And the professionals who are actually helping the clients are also saying, look, we're the only ones who know what the client needs. Contempt is really a no-no. It's really a red flag within teams. So one of the things you can help do as a leader when you see this contempt is obviously building a culture of appreciation. So remembering the good things and the gratitude, remembering the times when you did work together well, remembering the times when these people, whoever they are, came up with good ideas that actually helped you in your work. So building a culture of appreciation is something really that a leader should model, and that hopefully will affect the team to minimize this contempt. It's really a no-no in teams. The third type of behavior that is a red flag for breaking up of relationships in couples and in teams is defensiveness. So what you see is that someone doesn't want to become a victim, and so they roll that on to someone else. Like the leader gives feedback to a member, and the member goes, "Yes, but you," and then suddenly the conversation takes a turn. It's not about whatever it was; it's about the relationship. So we see a lot of that within teams where people reverse the blame. And one of the things that's really important in that is teaching people to take accountability, to say, "I'm sorry, you're right. This is, and can we talk about what we can do differently next time? Or I can see from your perspective that you're right. You know, from your perspective, I understand why you're saying that. I come from a different world. Do you have room for me to tell you what's happening in my world?" Yeah, yes, no, maybe. Sometimes there's no room, and then you just have to say, "Okay, I get it." Yeah. So taking responsibility, making people accountable, or helping people to take accountability and apologizing is really important in teams. Apologies are underrated. I think it doesn't happen enough. Now, there are apologies that are real and apologies that are fake. So, and people can smell it from 10 kilometers away. So if you're doing fake apologies, forget it. That's as much as having contempt, really. But if you have a real apology, don't hesitate to give it. You know, you go, I missed it. Really important in teams to keep that relationship going. The fourth main horseman of the apocalypse, so a predictor for breaking up relationships in couples and in teams, is stonewalling. Stonewalling is people are talking to you and you go, "I'm not there, I'm not there, I'm not there." So you're saying something really important about your relationship to your partner and they're reading newspaper. You know, that's quite a visible way of stonewalling. Within teams, it can happen one of two ways. Either it's explicit, so people actually move away from conflict, or it's implicit and people listen, but they shut off inside. And both are just as bad. Because it prevents teams from storming explicitly, and so you never get to the negotiation of norming stage. What's really important in this is teaching people to self-soothe, to be able to say, hold on a second, this is a bit much for me. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to go out, make tea, hug yourself, do whatever, hug your dog, do whatever you need to do to get back into that state of, okay, I'm willing to be open but protected. Distract yourself if need be, but fill yourself with love in some way or another to be able to come back and to be open to the other person. Within a work context, that means often, using humor, taking coffee breaks, going for a walk outside. Sometimes when people are stuck in conflict, I don't stay in the office, I don't sit down, I actually walk with them. Because if you walk, it's impossible to stay stuck in not only a physical position, but also a psychological position. But teaching people to self-soothing, this is the gesture, is really important because it's what some kids never learn that, but it's an important skill to have as an adult as well. Else, you'll also stay dependent on other people to do that. And people are people. They won't always be there to self-soothe you. So the name of the game here is there are 4 behaviors that lead to relational breakup, both in couples and in teams. And there are 4 skills that I teach teams so that they stay out of those behaviors. These are really red flags. If I see this type of behavior, I know this team is not moments away, but quite on the way towards self-destruct. So this is really, hold on a second. We need to focus on the process before we focus on the work. Check it out. Where are you at on the scale of 1 to 10 with criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling in your team? And what competency would you need to learn most? If you need help with that, give a call. Okay, good luck.